wait for it to start. Transcription is beginning. Excellent. Okay. So a huge thank you, everybody, for joining me here today. My name is Paul Ford. I'm the Windows strategy lead for Microsoft UK's education team. Today, I've been asked to share some insight into our ethos and strategy for accessibility. And as part of our working partnership with the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, I did some work. It must be, set me right here, Sarah, but it was maybe 3 months ago now, maybe 2 of the months ago. I can't remember, time's flying, where we did some accessibility work at UA92, which is one of our offices built within the university. And yeah, we had great feedback, and Sarah kindly asked if I could present some of this information back to you now. So we've set up this session to do that. What I'm going to do today, though, is I'm also just going to set a bit of a scene on how we put accessibility at the heart of kind of everything, not just in education, but everything that we do, actually. And, you know, how we're using that to help our approach with digital transformation in organizations. So I'm going to talk about that. There's a lot that we have to offer. I mean, Microsoft is often a complex and deep beast, as I quickly realized after I joined the company 2 years ago. There's a lot to learn. So I'm going to give you some insight today, but I can assure you there are going to be lots of resources that I'll be sharing after the fact. And also some of the things that I really appreciate is some of the self-paced learning materials as well that we've got through our Microsoft Educator Learn Center. So I'm going to send you some of that across too as well. Just before I kick off, it's probably worth introducing like myself and my actual role, because what does Windows Strategy Lead mean? My role basically is to support the adoption of Windows and ultimately our Microsoft technologies into all of the UK education sector. So I cover primaries, secondaries, MultiAcademy Trusts, universities, local authorities, and now I do a significant amount of work with governments such as Scottish Government, Welsh Government, and Department for Education. I actually started my career in teaching in 2004. For the best part of a decade, I was teaching while living in Manchester and the Greater Manchester region. So it's a place that's very fond to my heart. I'm in Nottingham now. Unfortunately, due to work and my wife's job, we had to move away from Manchester. I never thought I was going to leave, but there you go. I'm slightly away from it now. However, I've got a great opportunity to continue working in this region and providing some support. And yeah, I think the agenda for today is going to look a little something like this. So as I said at the start, we're going to first of all just talk around what we do as Microsoft around accessibility, equity, and inclusion, because it's important as a bit of a scene setter just to have a look at that, like how we kind of show up and turn up with that in mind. And then going to talk about how the inclusively designed technology, that's the hardware and the software working together. These are the tools that are readily available. And in fact, all the tools that I'm going to show you today integrated into Windows and into Microsoft Office are free. So again, thinking about how we can not just think about the inclusion, but actually point 3 is how we accelerate learning. So what are we doing to ensure that we can empower students to improve their learning journey in that learning process and give ultimately organizations better results and access. I do want to also talk briefly towards the end around building a positive school climate and well-being. We all recognize now, and educators, ex-educators, you all understand that if a student is feels comfortable and well supported, they have a better learning experience. So we've got some tools that can help kind of take a measure within that class as well. So I'll briefly touch on that. But then finally, I'm going to make sure you've got plenty, and I do mean plenty. So there's plenty of resources. It's resource overload at the end to take away with you as well. So you'll have plenty of resources to follow up on too. So let's just start with our mission, which we all know. Every single Microsoft employee will know this, and if you've ever met a Microsoft employee, you could probably say it back to us as well, about empowering every person and organization to do more. So what we mean by that really is that it's actually, our mission is people centric. With technology is kind of like that enabler. So we use power of AI, computing, and other tools that we have at our availability to try and make a difference to the individuals, the communities, and ensuring that's supporting a diverse range of skills, of cultures, and of backgrounds. When we put that into the context of education, and that's it, ensuring we can empower every student to achieve more. But as I say, the common thread is it's all about people. So people have to be involved at every single stage: discovery, development, execution, adoption. And the line that I love is that digital transformation is people led and technology enabled, and that we have to prioritize the people rather than just focus on technology alone. I've worked on a number of transformation projects, and I recognize when things work and when things don't. And I think often when they don't work, it's that technology alone has been that focus, not the people themselves. And I think within ensuring that our technology provides that empowerment for inclusion, we completely recognize, I think we all recognize, every student is unique, different strengths, different abilities, and we've got to provide as Microsoft our tools to enable differentiation, and to make sure that then we can provide something that students can access and engage. And this line is always a heartbreaking line for me. It really pulls on my heartstrings around students would rather go without than stand out. Even my my own personal experience, my father, who's now unfortunately severe hearing loss, he didn't address it because he didn't want the stigma of having a hearing aid. And we all recognize that the amount of peer pressure within students as well in a classroom, that student peer pressure, trying to ensure that there is equality, that we don't really have, we reduce the amount of stigma attached to accessibility and inclusion, is really, really important for us. And that's why I love the tools that we have available within Microsoft, because they do provide, a real leveler for access, or I believe so anyway. And hopefully you'll see that too by the end of this session. But one of the things that we did actually talk about at the event that we ran with the Great Manchester Combined Authority team and a number of other organisations is that actually accessibility is a massive opportunity. We had a study that we ran with Accenture around looking at accessibility and the impact of that within organisations. And there were 45 companies identified standing out for standing out in their leadership in areas specific to disability, employment, and inclusion. And actually, on average, over like a 4-year period, they had 28% higher revenue, double the net income, and 30% higher economic profit margins. So, it's clear it has a huge impact on organisation. What's also really important is they attract and keep top talent, and talent retention, people retention right now is critical. When asked, millennials, who is going to be 75% of the global workforce, they said they want to work at places that reflect their values. So diversity, disability, and inclusion are on the top of their list, which is great to see. So it's not just a thing within that's been viewed within education. It's right the way through all industries, in all sectors. And that's where our commitment comes, really. Like we want to be able to close this divide, to help at least close this divide, level the playing field, and ensure then that we can provide that support. And look, we're a technology company, so obviously we're going to lead with our strength. We're going to focus on software and hardware and things that we can do, but we have a great opportunity to accelerate one of the most powerful opportunities, really, identified actually by the World Bank to help close this disability divide. So, these are the areas that we focus on around technology, talent development, and workplace culture. So ensuring we're exploring all of these opportunities to make sure that we can make things accessible for people, but also, as this quote says, for people with disabilities, technology actually makes things possible. So that's a critical part of what we hope to do. Now that's kind of from a broader sector perspective, but what I wanted to just highlight before we get into some of the other tools and feature sets is what we do around education as a strategy within Microsoft. So I don't know whether some of you may have seen this slide before, but this is something that this basically sits at the heart of our education strategy. So we're ensuring that education equity means basically every learner receives what they need to reach their academic potential, whether that's inside or outside of the classroom. So that's making sure we've got access to opportunities and resources and support, not just based on where they are now, but where they ultimately want to go, and making sure then that we've got solutions that get them there. And we break this down into 3 key pillars, really, underpinned by secure and future-proof IT. But I'm just going to move across that one because I really want to focus on inclusively designed and some of the other areas today. But inclusively designed being that first pillar, to make sure that basically anything that we do design is focused on ensuring that the students can access and engage with those technologies and curriculums. When we think about accelerate learning, that's again making sure we've got data and insights to support career, workforce development, but also make sure then that we can prove that we're having true impact with these technologies and the tools that we're providing. And then finally, I mentioned we're going to touch on it briefly today, but there's a lot more that you can go and do with the resources that I'm going to share with you afterwards around foster well-being. Like, how can we ensure that we're giving students the ability to feel like they're having success, that they feel in a supported, that they're motivated, that they're engaged with their learning. Like, what tools can we provide to give us insight into that? So again, we'll talk more around that. And that's why we're really proud of having all of these platforms that come together from Windows, Teams, and Microsoft 365. Like that's the magic, I think, that we have at Microsoft, is we can bring all of these areas to ensure that we can deliver that effectively and have that support across. So let's get into this, where I can start to share some sort of insight into the tools. So inclusive design is the first section that we're going to look at. A number of these things you may have seen before, but I make no apologies. Like, I do like to revisit some of these things, even if you've seen it before anyway, because there is always new things within these tools that you may have never experienced. And you'll be happy to know it's not just going to be me talking at you today. I've actually got some video demonstrations by one of our leads within Teams and the tools and accessibility that we have within Office 365. A chap called Mike Tolson. So I'm going to play Mike's videos, and then what I'd love you to do as well is while Mike's videos are playing, I can then answer some of the questions in the chat. So if you do have any questions, by all means, feel free to use the chat, pop some stuff in, and I'll do my best to either answer them now on the call or provide an answer at a later date. So the first thing we're going to look at is Immersive Reader. It's a fundamental tool for me. Yes, sorry, who was that? Oh, I will carry on. So Immersive Reader is a fundamental tool. If you've not seen this before, it's a free tool. It basically uses proven techniques to improve reading. Yeah, I use it myself. I find it really great when I'm trying to look at very technically heavy documentation, breaking down things. It just allows me to make it a little bit easier for me to access reading. It's a tool that allows students to access materials based on their individual needs, really. And you can think of it kind of like a reading buddy. Yes, you can certainly have access to the recording to disseminate with staff. Absolutely. So the Immersive Reader, you see it as a reading buddy. Students can give them extra customized and discrete support for reading within that classroom setting. I'm going to show you in a video in a minute, but just a quick overview of it. Text preferences, grammar options, reading preferences, these are all available within Immersive Reader, and it features in so many of our applications, Office, Edge, and a number of other applications coming through as well. Without further ado, I'm going to just pop on a brief video, and I'm going to allow Mike to take you through some of the settings and overview, the real powerful stuff around Immersive Reader.
I'll be demoing the Immersive Reader, which is built in and free and part of many Office apps. I'm going to launch Word for Web right here. Now I'm in the free version of Word, and I'm going to go to the View menu, and I'm going to click Immersive Reader. Now I'm in the Immersive Reader, and what we did was we took the latest science and research around reading, and we focused inclusively to help solve all sorts of challenges around reading. So first off, let's make this full screen. In the upper right, I'll click here. Now at the bottom, you're going to see a play button, and when I click play, you're going to see text-to-speech.
The study of Earth's landforms is called physical geography.
Now that's a high-grade neural text-to-speech voice, and also text-to-speech is now built into Word along with word and line highlighting, which is a proven technique for some people to help with focus and comprehension. I can click voice settings at the bottom and make it faster or slower voice, and I can choose male or female voice. I can also change the way the page looks. So when I click on the AA in the upper right, I've got some options. So we know for some people who experience visual crowding, if I click increase spacing, this can reduce visual crowding for some people. I can change the background colors of the themes. So many people don't like to read with a white or a black background. I've got many options to choose from, and these are tuned for accessibility. So I can choose a color theme that works for me. I chose Comic Sans. This is designed for younger readers. Many students prefer the way the A and the G are written, and that's how younger children are taught to write. I can make the text size much bigger if I scroll up here. So think about short line mode, or think about English language learners, or think about students with vision impairments. It's really easy to customize the way that the page looks. Now, next up, I'm going to click on grammar options. And we know there's a very common technique breaking words into syllables, and I'll clap my hands like this. Syllables. Many students are taught that way. Some students with dyslexia will prefer syllable breakdowns. So by clicking syllables, I can break the words into syllables with a single click. I can highlight the nouns on the page with a single click, or the verbs. I can highlight the adjectives or even the adverbs. And I can customize the colors very easily. Maybe I want the verbs to be red, and maybe I want to turn a couple of these off, and maybe I want to show labels, which puts a visual distinguishing mark in case I have challenges with colors. So you can see it's very personalizable, and it's easy for me to do. Next up, I'm going to make the background color blue, and I'm going to go to reading preferences and choose line focus. Now let's think about students with ADHD, or maybe students with cerebral palsy, students with dyslexia. This is like a reading ruler, like an overlay. And see how I can scroll up and down with these arrows? I can read it out loud.
Glaciers or rivers. Landforms are sometimes called physical features.
So it's really easy to customize. And I can choose 1 line or 3 lines or 5 lines. It's really easy to customize in a way that works best for me. I can click on a word and get a picture. So we call this picture dictionary.
Earths. Earths.
Click on mountains.
Mountains.
Or valleys.
Valleys.
I can also translate, and this is really powerful. We can translate in over 67 languages here. And so I've chosen Spanish, and I'm going to turn on by word, and now I'm going to click on Earth.
Earths.
English.
Tierra.
Spanish. English.
Mountains.
Montañas.
But I can also translate the entire document. So I'm going to click on Document, and now let's read that out loud.
El estudio de las formas terrestres de la Tierra se llama geografía.
And if that's too fast, I can slow it down a little bit.
Física. Las formas de tierra pueden.
And I can go back to the original or Spanish, and you can see it still highlights the parts of speech, the nouns, the verbs, and the adjectives in Spanish. So all of these capabilities are built right into the Immersive Reader, which is free and part of Word. It's also in Teams, OneNote, Flipgrid, Minecraft, Forms, Whiteboard, and Office Lens.
Okay, so yes, as I said, you may have seen Immersive Reader before, but I did want to show that that video and share that tool again, because I just think, you know, it's really powerful, and there are a number of organizations exploring this, especially for English as an additional language, as was demonstrated. Really powerful. I think one of the trusts that we're working with, they've got over 29 languages within the trust. So being able to have something like this with their students and in some cases with their parents has been incredibly powerful. What I wanted to do as well is kind of bring it into context of the classroom from a teacher perspective. So this is a spotlight that that Miss McLeod actually did with us and the team on a thing we have called an Edu Day. Year 4 classroom teacher. Currently in a state school, and team teaching in a double space. 70% of the students with English as an additional language, and then students with disabilities and students with diverse range of abilities as well. Now, Ms. McLeod is a Microsoft Innovative Expert, Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert. That's a mouthful. I'll talk more around that later in regards to resources and things that we can provide to support you in training if you ever want to get into that world. But what was great was what Ms. McLeod was sharing was the fact that how she actually uses this in class. So for instance, students listening to content and questions for learning tasks, and then assessment across different learning areas in either Word or OneNote forms, using that actually as a tool for students to read and edit their own writing as well. So in this example, They listen to content and questions, try and understand the learning task and assessments, and then students then are able to then answer that those questions and using the ability to kind of listen back through Immersive Reader. Without the tool, they would often have to stagger like students' completion of assessment tasks. And because the tool's available, then they can have the content read to individual students. This saves huge amounts of time, and there's also no real stigma attached. Like each student can sit there and absorb it at their own time and own pace. They don't need to have a teacher take them out and have that read back to them. So again, this removing of stigma is an important factor on this as well. Also, again, this example of how it can be used to improve writing. So students practicing descriptive writing, they use parts of speech feature to check they'd use the adjectives in their language. Then they listen to their writing being actually read aloud back to them, and then they make edits to improve that writing. I've seen this throughout many different classes now and used in incredibly creative ways. But again, it's such a powerful feature and powerful tool that can be used to support. As Mike said, it's not just in the likes of Office and Word and OneNote. It also features in things like Minecraft. So we have Immersive Reader built into Minecraft as well, and we're continuing to feed this into as many areas of our ecosystem as we can. So within Teams and within Microsoft Edge, etc., etc. So moving on to Dictation. You may or may not already be aware of Dictation. I use it now every day, particularly for my world, using it to dictate emails. It saves a ton of time for me, but it's just a fast and easy way for students to get their thoughts on a page. Another opportunity for students to use a tool that lessens the cognitive load for students. So I'm going to, again, just allow Mike to share with you some of those examples of how you can use Dictate within Office.
I'm going to demonstrate Dictation, otherwise known as speech to text, in all of the free Office web apps and show it in the desktop. So I'm in the free version of Word for the web, and I'm on the Home tab. And way over on the right here, you'll see a Dictate button. And I'm going to click that to start. Now I am dictating in Microsoft Word, period. I'm really excited now! Exclamation point. Can I ask you a question? Question mark. I'm going to click, just turn that off. So you can see I've added a period, an exclamation point, and a question mark. We call that explicit punctuation. I can also choose many languages. By dropping this arrow down, you can see many other languages are supported for our speech to text. And this is all built in, mainstream, non-stigmatizing, and free. Now we'll switch to OneNote, and I'm in OneNote for the web. Same thing. I'm on the Home tab. I click the Dictate button. Now I am dictating in Microsoft OneNote, period. And there you have it. Exclamation point. I'm going to switch over to PowerPoint in the web. We even have it in PowerPoint. You can dictate your slides. So I'm on the Home tab, and way over here on the right is the Dictate button. Here is the title of my first slide. It's just that easy. And again, this is all free and available right now for Office 365 web apps. It's also in the desktop app. So now I'm in Word desktop, and you see on the Home tab, the Dictate button is right over here on the right-hand side. It's also in OneNote. Here's the OneNote Windows 10 app, and on the Phone tab, there's Dictate. It's even in PowerPoint. So PowerPoint desktop, Home tab, Dictation. And this is also in Word, Mac. It's just rolled out. So it's all across Office. In addition, I'm on Windows 10. If I hold the Windows key plus H, now I can dictate anything in Windows 10. If you look across the top, you will see this little bar that says it's listening, and I'm dictating right into the slide. Stop dictating. And it's just that easy. So anywhere in Windows 10, you can dictate. So if your students have Windows 10 at home, we have built-in speech to text. You just hit the Windows key plus the letter H, and it pops up this little microphone at the top.
So again, just to reflect on that dictation, as I said already, you know, I use it throughout my my working day now to help me dictate my emails. But in the classroom, being able to cater for the needs of students who have difficulty really, you know, pulling their ideas in written form. Hands-free typing lets the students freely generate ideas just by speaking, and it's another time saver, but also a way to help with scribing for individual students that you wouldn't always necessarily have the ability to do without that technology. So again, something that's built in, is available to you in most of the Office apps and applications, and OneNote and various other areas, and built into Windows as well. So if it's a text box in Windows that you can click on, then you can actually dictate into those into that as well. I've just got another quick video. This one is just kind of showing the impact on the students. It's only a brief video, but I do really like this video, and hopefully it'll resonate with yourselves as well.
The true purpose of education is to create possibility.
It was a little hard for me. People laugh whenever I read sometimes.
Well, they knew how to read, and I didn't.
I'll never be good at reading. I will probably be held back again.
It highlights the words to know where I am.
When it's reading, I see spaces between the words, and it's easy to focus on.
The first time I actually could read that book, I was proud of myself.
I was very proud of myself.
Good job, Joey.
When technology and education come together, possibility becomes reality.
I want to read every book in here.
That video gets me every time. So I think, again, if you're in the classroom, you're seeing this happening with students, this will really resonate with you. And the impact that we're fortunately being able to have on those students now, to give them that confidence to help them through what, you know, can be such a challenging thing for them to access, I think is just, yeah, it's amazing really. So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit, because what I'm going to show is actually something that we share within our community and within teaching community, probably more for the staff rather than for students, and that's accessibility checker. Now this tool basically is it runs in the background. It's discoverable in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Outlook. And what it does is it analyzes your material, and it will provide recommendations alongside your document, and it helps you basically understand how to fix errors and create a more accessible content over time. So it uses AI, and it has this incredible tool. So as an example, say for instance, if you're sharing an image as part of a presentation or as part of a document, if there is a visual impaired person, a person with a visual impairment, I should say, who is trying to access that that document, and they may not be able to, you know, to see that image, then if there is no image text, how are they going to access that? How are they going to ensure that you can engage with that? That's exactly what Accessibility Checker does. So it ensures that it will go through your document, and it will look and provide advice and guidance on how you can make your materials more accessible for that community. So I think that's the you know, again, something else that we can do in using the power of AI and the computing power that we have to ensure that we can make all of our materials more accessible. So again, I've got another great resource at the end of this presentation that we can share with you to make sure you can access Accessibility Checker. It's in the review tool. You can see the GIF here, but there's a video that will take you through this at the end. And again, something that I use now daily. So as we move on to accelerate learning, this really is around how we can ensure, as Microsoft, we can give you as an educator real data, real-time data and insights, and hopefully help with this immersive learning experience, all about trying to build on prior knowledge, what we can do to then accelerate that learning. And we're obviously deeply concerned now as educators with the interruptions to in-person learning, to make sure we can see these real-time insights, just so we can see the challenges, help us identify things that could be coming a challenge, and then also provide strategies to intervene, and hopefully then help those students achieve that potential. So one of the things that I'm going to discuss today is reading progress. And again, I hope that, you know, many of you may not have seen this. I mean, part of me hopes that you have seen this. But I know that the more that I talk about this, there are many people that haven't seen this, and I really would encourage you to explore this further if you haven't. So basically, reading progress is a tool to ultimately help students of all ages practice reading fluency. Now, I've got a course available. Microsoft, we have a course available on Microsoft Learn, which I'll share with you. But I'm going to take you through a demo of it today. It's not going to be Mike Tolson taking you through it. I thought I'd give Mike a break. It's going to be me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of what it looks like from an end-to-end perspective, from that kind of interaction between a staff member and a student. And I've got some examples here of those both students and teachers. So this is Crystal. She's a year 3 student, 8 years old. You know, success and confidence in many ways depends on, as we recognize it, you know, the ability to read. Doesn't really like to be reading out loud in class, makes her nervous, and can often feel like she does worse in class than when she's reading at home. Also needs help with additional words that isn't always necessarily covered in class, to help her kind of catch up, keep up, and get ahead. Now we've got Miss Peterson, obviously, who cares deeply about Crystal's reading ability, wants to check her reading fluency every week. But to do that, spending 5 minutes with each student, using methods such as stopwatch, piece of paper, you know, pencil, then trying to times that by 30 students, it is a challenge. Okay, so it's difficult, and that's really the challenge, the problem that we're hoping we can help with. So we're trying to provide an opportunity for Crystal to practice this reading, and ensuring that she can get help with the words that she struggles with most, but then giving Miss Peterson the insights to go and make sure she's making that progress and supporting on that. And that's what Reading Progress and Reading Coach is all about, making sure we can and provide these tools. So we're going to go through all of these. I'm going to go through them quite quickly, as I'm conscious of time. But basically, Reading Progress is built into Teams. It's a free tool. And when you have a class set up, you can set an assignment. Some of you may be familiar with assignments already, but if you're not, this is how you set up an assignment in Teams. I'll be sharing resources on how to do this later as well. And what you do is you simply attach a reading progress assignment. Before, it could have just been like a document, an assignment, a presentation you'd want someone to complete. In this case, it is reading progress. What this does is it allows you then as an educator to upload a passage of text. So you can take that text that you would like that student to practice and read, and then you can share that with the student. What you can also do before you share it with the student and create it as a reading progress assignment is you can actually include a tool called ReadingCoach. So you can see on the right hand side here, we're going to turn ReadingCoach on to make sure then that the student can use ReadingCoach within that practice. And there are other things as well, pronunciation, sensitivity. You can set a time limit, set a number of attempts if you want to. If it's going to be something that's going to be measured as a sort of more exam-based material, you can kind of set exam scenario up if you so like. What you can then do is you can customize ReadingCoach, so you can show whether the ReadingCoach tools are going to play by word, whether it's going to stretch the word, whether you're going to allow them to see the word, and the ReadingCoach will either show at the beginning. You can change that. You can choose a voice that you want. You can select the prompt style, etc., etc. And I'll show you that what it looks like in a minute. So there's the assignment that's kind of being created. What we can then do is we can assign that to all of the students in the class. We could assign it to different students in the class. We can differentiate depending on the reading level with that student. But ultimately, the student then gets access to that through their Teams assignment. So they log on to Teams, they can see their class, and therefore they can see their reading progress assignment. What Crystal can then do is then she goes into that assignment and she can start to read. So again, you saw Immersive Reader before. It's built into reading progress. They can change the text size. They can the student can then change the theme, change the background, make sure it's appropriate for their personal requirements, the fonts, etc. And then they can hit record and they can record their reading. So they speak out loud. It doesn't have to necessarily include video, although it can, but it will include audio. They record into the headset, microphone, laptop, and then they capture that reading. The student then can also use ReadingCoach. So what it does is the student will get feedback from that reading passage, and it will tell them if there are words in particular that they struggled with. So as an example, there are 5 words here: atmosphere, landforms, combination, physical, and factors. These are the words that were challenging for Crystal. So she can select those words and tackle them again and practice them by listening to the word being read out loud, break it into syllables, etc., etc. Even use Pictured Dictionary to help with that as well and record that. And then it will give them an opportunity to practice individual words. What's then great is that Ms. Peterson can then see that assignment being turned in. So this is all done through the Teams environment. That reading progress assignment has been handed in. They can see where their class is up to, and then they'll be able to measure the amount of student engagement within those reading progress assignments. This is what the teacher sees. So the teacher can then see, using again the power of AI, the ability to provide feedback to the student. So what's happened here basically is the AI has taken that reading passage and it's measured the number of correct words per minute, the accuracy rate, any mispronunciations, whether a student has left a word out, any omissions, if they've inserted a word, whether there's any repetitions, even self-corrections. It can recognize that as well. It's an incredibly powerful language piece of AI that can do this. So yeah, really great stuff. And what this means then is that, you know, if Ms. Peterson wants to then correct the assessment, she can do. She can change some of the assessment levels here, but you can even see the number of attempts that's being made. Excuse me, from the student. You can change the pronunciation sensitivity here as well, if perhaps there is you know, like a stronger accent maybe. But then you can, you know, all of this is amendable for the staff member. What's also great is actually that Ms. Peterson can even see the words that were being practiced, the individual words that that Crystal struggled with, that what tool she used to practice those words, which again, all this data and insight is really powerful, and the teacher can then get to review that. So again, you know, being able to have access to this, how many practice words, etc., is just, you know, is great. Then the teacher can provide feedback. So the teacher can just concentrate on being able to provide the support and feedback for that student. They may want to take them out individually, but they can also provide feedback here as well, right within the tool and feature. This is a big part of our goal really at Microsoft, is how can we ensure that we're seeing this progress over time. So this here, you can see the students' progress being measured over that time period. So seeing how they've improved, or areas that need work around average words per minute and accuracy rate. And that isn't just, you know, obviously for the individual passage. You can do that for all of the assignments that you're being set. So whether you've got various topics, so it might be that I think I was actually speaking to one of the members. It was a sixth form college at an event at the GMCA event that we ran at UA 92, where they were saying actually there was a number of students in the taking exams where they probably should be getting an A or A star in those exams, in particular science and maths, but because language was a barrier for them, they were probably averaging more like a D, C. So they were wanting to use this tool to actually feed exam questions in to make sure they could practice the reading fluency of those exam questions, which I think is a great opportunity to go and support students at that level. I think originally when this was designed, people were thinking about this as maybe sort of primary readers, but actually it goes above and beyond at all levels, even adult readers as well. So yeah, being able to see that being measured is incredible. And this is another great tool that I think is amazing for staff members, is you can actually see a word cloud with the challenging words. So you can imagine as a teacher, you can then present that word cloud up, work with the class, and then start to break down some of those challenging words as a broad class. But you can also then just create really quickly a challenge assignment. So you can see there's a button here, the words that are most challenging within your class. Let's generate a list of words and provide extra practice. And that's all done through this tool. So again, trying to save time, but also ensuring we can personalize that learning for those students. And it isn't just at class level. We know that the magic happens when you provide context and data together. So we've got this at all levels, organizational structural levels. Now, this originally, prior to the 1st of March, I believe. So what was that, yesterday? Prior to yesterday, this was actually something that you would have to pay as a subscription on top of. We've actually released this for free now. So basically what this means now is Insights is available at every single organizational level. So it says premium there. Ignore that slide. This slide is old now. So forget the premium. It is free and it's available for everybody. And will allow you to view this at every single organizational level. So you could be at MultiAcademy Trust, down to school, down to year group, down to class. You can really get granular with this, which I think is exceptional. And then allows you then as a senior leader, strategic leader, to spot which organizational unit needs attention where and when, and being able to also then, if you do put in any intervention, can you see that intervention that's being put in place have a positive impact in those areas, in those organizational units, which again is another thing. If you've got any reading programs that you're trying to implement, how do you know that those programs are having that true effect? Well, actually, if you're doing these reading progress assignments and using ReadingCoach, then hopefully you'll be able to see the measure of that as you progress into that area. And again, sorry, there's more hierarchy stuff here. Even things like digital engagement, so ensuring you can track how students are engaging, that participation, etc. It is really powerful. And then even the activity of those students as well, as we're seeing more, both especially in higher education, but we're seeing this more in MultiAcademy Trust now, when we're seeing engagement with technology being used outside of school. Like, what is that level of engagement? How is it looking? So being able to understand that student workload is critical on that. Okay. So this was a feature again that we shared at the event at UA92, and it was it's a very, very powerful feature. I absolutely adore it. I think it's really impressive, but again, something that isn't always visible to all staff members. So I wanted to share it today, which is PowerPoint Live. So what this does basically is it allows you to create a live PowerPoint presentation. It's quite simple. You go to your PowerPoint as an educator and you say, I'm going to present it as a PowerPoint Live. What this does then is, on your screen, you'll see a QR code. And then students, then if they do have a device, whether that's a personal device or whether that's a device that's been provided by the institution, they can then scan and access that PowerPoint. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why, Paul? Because the PowerPoint's on screen. Why do they need to also access it on their personal device? Well, the reason being is because once they can access it on their personal device, what you can then do is you can get the students to interact with questions. What you can also then do is you can actually get the students to interact, because they can personalize that transcription. So what happens is, as you start to present and you start to talk, it will capture your words and it will transcribe that, as it's already doing, as you can see. And if you look at transcription, it's happening right now in this presentation, but this is happening live while you're in class. What you can then do is you can take that transcription and turn it into absolutely any language. One of the 67, I believe, I think it's up to 67 now languages. It might even be more. I know we're continuing to update, but a lot of the languages that we've been speaking to in MultiAcademy Trust, those 29 languages I mentioned before, was it 29 languages? They are all covered within this tool. So you can imagine being able to present as an educator and have it transcribed into that language for that student, for them to engage, is just incredibly powerful. So I've got a demo here for PowerPoint Live. I just want to let Mike Tolson do some of the heavy lifting for me. I'll just check and see if there's any more questions. But yeah, I'm going to play this now, and you can see exactly what it looks like in action.
I'll be demoing the new PowerPoint Live, which is built in a PowerPoint web and is free. This will let you present more inclusively and engage your audience. So I'm going to switch to the slideshow tab right here, and there's this new button, Present Live. And by the way, I can present either to people in my organization or school district, just for those folks, or I can choose anyone and make this available to anyone in the world. And I'll click Present Live to start. Now this is the join screen, and what I can do is up in the right, there's a PowerPoint link, and this is the join link I can give to anyone. There's also a QR code, so if you're in a Teams meeting, people can just hold their device up and join into the presentation automatically. Now you can see here the numbers of people who have joined is going up, and we'll get going. Okay, now I'm in PowerPoint for the web, and my live session has started. Also note that the link to follow along is right here up at the top where I'm highlighting. So first off, we can have students or participants join this session and choose their own captions and their language. That means we could have multiple people join and each person chooses one of 67 languages and it captions to them in real time on their device. And as the teacher or the presenter, when I move my slide, the participant slides moves, but the captions come through in their own language. So here I have someone with English, with Chinese, and another device with Spanish. So as I'm talking, it's captioning to them in the language they choose. At the bottom, I hover, there's a live session button. I can see that my session is live, got a bunch of people join. I could copy the link to this and send it to someone in Teams or email. I could even show the welcome screen again. Maybe someone came late, I could give that to them. Also, by default, audience reactions are on. You can turn them off, but we're going to keep it on for our demo in just a bit. And I can also end session here. The other important one is the microphone. This is on, and that will push out captions and transcripts. If I want that off, I'll just turn that off, and I don't want them to go on, but we're going to leave it on for our session. So let's get going. I'm here on a slide, and I'm going to talk through the 5 planets. Now, I'd like to ask for some audience reactions. If you're a fan of Saturn, let me know, audience. I want to see some emojis coming up. And there we go. I'm seeing some hearts and some thumbs up, and all of these are kept for later. So you can get a sense of different slides you're talking about or different topics, which are the things that the audience likes best. So now let's say I'm at the end of my presentation. What I'm going to do is go down at the bottom and click on the live session button and click end session. Now what happens is when I end the session, all of the attendees are going to get a little feedback form asking me how I did on my presentation skills and the design of my slides and a few other questions. They will be able to fill out that feedback. So as a presenter, it allows me to gather feedback and understand where I'm doing well and where I can improve. Now, when I click end session, what's going to happen is that in a couple of minutes, all of that data will get aggregated and me as a presenter will receive an email to capture all of that information from my attendees. When I end the session, the QR code and the join code are destroyed so no one else can join. Now, if I accidentally just close my browser or hit escape, that join code and QR code self-destruct at 30 minutes and then no one else can get in. So that's a quick tour of PowerPoint Live in the web, which is free and part of Office 365.
And again, the more that I explore the tools that I have available, it's phenomenal, really. I think hopefully you'll find that useful for you, especially, as I say, for engaging students where English is an additional language. But there are lots of other benefits from that. I think getting that aggregated view of the engagement level within those presentations is also a fantastic tool as well. Another great thing, again, that I will move on to Mike straight away with this one because I'm conscious of time, is PresenterCoach. We announced this quite recently with some updates. And our event that we held on the 9th of February, the education event, an announcement around our learning accelerators. For those who are unfamiliar, PresenterCoach basically is a tool that will allow you to support you to help, hopefully, you get better at presenting. It's been great for students and confidence to be able to kind of practice and rehearse. Even people within Microsoft themselves use this tool to ensure that when they're presenting, they're presenting in the best possible way. So I'm just going to let Mike do the talking, and then we're going to move on.
I'll be showing the newly updated and improved PowerPoint PresenterCoach. PresenterCoach uses AI to listen and now watch how you present and give you feedback. So let's get started. I'm here in PowerPoint for the web, and I'll go to the slideshow tab. and you'll see this Rehearse with Coach. Rehearse with Coach has already been here for a little while, Presenter Coach in PowerPoint, but there are some new enhancements that I'll be showing in addition to the original ones. If I drop the arrow down, you'll see Show Body Language Feedback. I'm going to check this on, and we'll show some of the new features in Presenter Coach. Now click Rehearse with Coach. Here's the pop-up. It says, welcome to PowerPoint Presenter Coach. You'll rehearse, and then at the end, you'll get a nice little numerical summary and some suggestions. Click Start Rehearsing. Now you'll see there's video as well as the original audio. So the video part is new, and PowerPoint's going to watch as I present. Some of the body language critiques. The first one could be, maybe I've gotten a little bit too close. Oh, move farther away from the screen. Hey, that's the spot. Could be I'm too far back. Whoa, I didn't realize I was so far back. Hey, move a little closer. Perfect. Another critique is maybe I'm inadvertently putting my hand in front of my face and, oh, keep the area in front of your face clear, okay? Another one is I might be looking in a different direction. Oh, face the camera. Engage with your audience. Okay, those are some of those new body language critiques that have just rolled out to PowerPoint in the web. We still have the audio as well. And you can note, maybe I don't want to have the video showing the entire time. I could say, stop seeing your camera. Now my camera is hidden. I could also say, turn off the real-time feedback. I check that bell there and you can see now it's turned off. We'll turn on the real-time feedback for audio, but maybe I want to leave the video part off. Let's go to the next slide. Now, some of the existing critiques I will show for those of you that are newer to this. One is PowerPoint checks the speed at which you're talking. So I'm going to start talking really fast. We have 5 planets on the screen. It's Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Try speaking a bit slower. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Inclusive language is also something that PowerPoint can listen for. For example, hey you guys, did you know that Mars is the red planet? Sensitive phrases. This might be offensive or non-inclusive in some cases. Another thing PowerPoint can do is listen to see if you're reading from the slides. When the satellite approached Jupiter, it discovered a few rings around Jupiter as well as volcanic activity on the moon. Try to avoid reading the slides. Summarize your key points. Presenter Coach can also listen for the tone of your voice. I call this the Bueller test for Ferris Bueller's teacher. This planet has rings surrounding it. What is the name of the planet with rings? Anyone? Anyone? Try varying your pitch and adding emphasis to key words. Okay. The other thing that Presenter Coach will check for, and hey, good job with my pitch variation. Keep it up. The other thing is that I can check for filler words. So PowerPoint will listen if I do, for example. And Uranus is try not to use too many fillers. Lastly, PowerPoint can listen if you're using the same word repeatedly. Here's some examples. A really awesome planet is Neptune. And it's so awesome that I'm going to tell you why. Because of all the awesomeness of the universe, Neptune is the most awesome of all the awesome planets. So I said awesome a whole lot of times there. My favorite adjective. When we get to the final report, we'll show you what that looks like. Now when I'm done, I will hit the escape key. Here's my report, my rehearsal report. My pacing was pretty good. You can see when I sped up a lot right there, there's my little peak. My different pitch, and you can see that I had my monotone test with the Bueller pitch. Now body language right here is new. Eye contact, if I expand this, it actually took photos when I was facing away and when I was looking forwards. Clear view when I had my hand on my head and when I didn't have my hand over my forehead. And lastly, distance. Expand that. Oh, that's where I was too close, and that's where I was backing up. Some other aspects, fillers, to sound more polished, don't say as much. Repetitive language, try to use synonyms, don't say awesome so many times. Looks like I said okay too many times as well. And sensitive phrases, instead of you guys, consider saying you instead, which is more inclusive language. So PowerPoint gives you this great report and really gives you suggestions on how to improve. Now, if you're an educator, what a great thing to do is have your students do a screenshot. I'll do Windows Shift S. Say, I'd like you to screenshot your rehearsal report like this, let go, and then paste it into an email so you can show that you were practicing. PowerPoint will continue to add improvements and refinements to Presenter Coach, so keep up and watch what gets added in the near future.
I can't tell you how many times I've used that personally myself. And again, you can imagine the support that it provides to a student, staff members, everyone really, to allow them to think about how they can really communicate better. So yeah, it's a really powerful tool. Really recommend you access it. I think I've probably said powerful too many times there. I would have been called out on my presentation report on my score, but I do really think it is an incredible thing to have. So we're going to kind of start to wrap up now. I did say we were going to touch briefly on this, but there are some further resources to explore. But one of the things that we're really keen to do and make sure we can have built within our ecosystem is this ability to support this fostering of well-being. And the tool that I'm going to just touch on today really is Reflect. And this is all about trying to drive this positive school climate. So it allows you as an educator to have a sample of the school climate, understand where those groups may need more support. You can build some intervention and programs into this, and then you can then ideally see the impact of those intervention programs and then start to share best practice. And it's quite a simple tool on the front of it. It just basically allows you to put a question in that says, how are you feeling today within your classroom? So you can put that in chat, you can put it in as part of your assignments, and there are numerous ways in which you can insert this in. There's a course on this later that will explain more. But what this does then, it gives you the data back, so you can start to see how your students are feeling throughout that day, and throughout the throughout these Reflect surveys. What you can then do is hopefully then is go in and start to try and support those students with that support method that you think would be appropriate. So yes, that's been quite a bit of a whistle stop tour. I was conscious of trying to get as much in here to share with you, so you could take this, hopefully some useful tools away with you. We do have a number of tools that are available to you as educators, and and we actually provide as Microsoft, not just for education but for all sectors really. And there are two things that I'd love for you to kind of explore today. One is the Accessibility Fundamentals training series, which is on Microsoft Learn. The link is here, and again, I'll share this with you. This is about how you can create experience to ensure it's these experiences are accessible for all people of all abilities. But there's also the Microsoft Educator community as well, and there are tons of fantastic resources in here. Learning Paths is what we call them. That will take you through this. Now, what I've done is I've actually taken all of the resources from today and I've put that into a single slide for you. But I've also put some recommended courses in there underneath those as well. There are tons. There are lots of courses that are available on Microsoft Learn. These are just the recommended ones to help get you started. And usually the things that I get asked about often after sessions like these as a follow-up. So I thought I'll try and be proactive and give you them at the start. There's something else that I'd like to talk about as well, which is actually our Ability Summit. So if you do have time, again, this link will be shared with you, but you've got an opportunity to attend this Ability Summit. This is all about how we've got our new accessible technology. We've got leaders with disabilities sharing their insight, their journey, and hopefully getting people excited about how accessibility can empower more people. So that summit is available. It's registration is available now. It's on March the 8th, and that registration link I will send out to you. This one, as I mentioned before, these are the list of resources. So all of the videos you've seen today, which is why I didn't necessarily do all of the demos, because I'm conscious that you could take these videos and maybe replay them back into your own organizations. So all those videos will be available. And what I've done underneath each video is I've provided what I think would be an ideal starting point within the Microsoft Learn Educator Center. The Educator Center is vast. There's a lot in there. So I'm trying to give you just some, I guess, breadcrumbs to start with. Hopefully we'll give you an opportunity to explore some of these in more in sort of further areas. And then there are some other resources as well. This is our link to our Microsoft Accessibility page. Some tons of great stuff in there. But also there's an accessibility guide for educators. This is actually a sway. So this is something that's been created. It's not on a Microsoft.com page. It's a sway page that various educators, Microsoft people have put together to try and provide guidance. And then that last course there is the accessibility and inclusivity courses that are available in Microsoft Learn Educator Center 2. Last bit of resource is this. So we've actually got these short and sweet guides. These are interactive guides that you can click on and go through and play with, that don't actually require you to have a tenant. They basically just take you through via a website and a web demo. So they're really, really great. Gives you an idea of how you can get started around inclusive reading, writing, maths, and communication. And from a resource perspective, as I say, these will all be shared. That's kind of it. Conscious of over time, but this slide isn't quite important, I believe, to me and hopefully to us. We do see this as a huge responsibility. Over 1 billion people who in the world who have disabilities, many of whom need assistive technology, but only 1 in 10 that have actually access to the products that they need. So let's please share this information, get this out to as many people as possible. Just leave you on this kind of poignant point. This is what we believe. In the past, you had to adapt to the world, and in the future, we want to make sure the world will adapt to you. So a huge thank you, everyone, for the time. I apologize for any technical errors, but as I say, this presentation will be shared out with everybody, as will be the resources. A huge thank you for the time. Hopefully, we may see you at the Ability Summit, and who knows, we may cross paths in the future. So many thanks, everyone.